All right, let's talk through estimating square roots real quick. So if you have the square root of a perfect square, like 81, that is a whole number of 9. If there is a negative in front of the square root, that ends up being negative 9. And the reason that these are integers is because you have something that's 9 by 9. The area of that is 81, as in 81 little squares will fill in that whole space perfectly. But there are a bunch of numbers in between the things that have integer answers for their square roots, and that's what we're working on estimating today. So if you wanted to find the square root of something that wasn't a perfect square, like the square root of 34, it's really helpful if you have that bookmark we made, or if you lost it, if you write down a quick list for yourself. So I like to write out the numbers between 1 and 10, or sometimes I go a little bit further. And then I'm going to list below them what their squares are. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. And that is my list. And don't be afraid to use a calculator for that. So if I say, going back to that example we did before, I wanted the square root of 81. The square root of 81 is 9. Now the square root of 34 is not in my list, but I do know a few things about this. So first, 34 would fall somewhere here between 25 and 36. So I know that the square root of 34 would fall somewhere between 5 and 6, because those are the integer amounts that I'm looking at. If you want to, you can draw the little square root symbol over all of these to help you visualize that. So again, I know that the square root of 34 is between 5 and 6 because the square root of 34 is somewhere between the square root of 25 and the square root of 36. I picked 25 and 36 because those have whole number integer answers, and that makes life a lot easier. From here, if I want to get in a little bit deeper, I can think about the square root of 25 is here, that's 5. Square root of 36 is here, that's 6. Where 34 falls in this range, from 25 to 36 is 11 spaces. So if I think about where 34 falls in those 11 spaces, 34 would be right here. So as I can see, it's much closer to 6. So if I was estimating this, I would estimate something like 5.8 or 5.9. If I really wanted to be sure, I could multiply 5.8 times 5.8, 5.9 times 5.9, see which one of those came out closer to 34. But again, since we're estimating, you just have to be close. So make a list of perfect squares like we did right here. Find which two square root numbers the number you want falls between, and then estimate based on whether it's closer to the middle, closer to the higher number, or lower number, a decimal that seems to make sense. Again, this is estimating. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're rounding to just one decimal place, but that's my process for finding these answers.